Hi and good day for all of you. We're gonna do the winter oil exchange through pumping the oil out, not by draining it from beneath the car, because actually in winter it's sometimes dangerous or really freezy or like difficult to go under the car or raise it on the ramps. And usually like whenever you want to put it in the garage or outside, it's either like wet or freezing. So this is how I change the oil in my car in winter. And you can do this method for any car actually, as long as you have oil dipstick place. So the equipments we need: any source of 12-volt electricity, including the car battery itself, or as I use the station here, I have like a source of 12 standalones, 12 volts, or old good battery, which I'm going to use today. We're going to use the pump, which is electric, and you can use the manual evacuation pump, but at least you have good capacity, at least 10 liters, 15 liters, so it will like manage the amount of oil you have, especially when we're working on BMW E39 today, 6 cylinders, at least you will gonna evacuate 6.5 liters. You're gonna use also torque wrench, already assorted on the designated torque, which is 25 Newton per meter, and we're gonna use the oil, which I'm using. I use the Castle Edge 530 C3 long life. This is 5-liter package, so I use both. Gloves, plastic bags to put the dirty filter in it. Small screwdriver, so we can like remove the old rubber ring around the filter, and any tool that will like remove the bolts, 10 millimeter bolt. This is like the 10 millimeter bolt already set on it. Clean and dirty rags. Dirty rags to clean up your motor and clean just to wipe your hands. Gloves. Man filter here I have. You can use any filter. Actually, I used a lot of filters, and one of the filters like were very cheap or very good. And this is the number. And this include the metal ring, the copper ring that you use for if you want to change from beneath the car, and the oil ring, the big one. And here, which I like to at least once a year exchange, this is the rings used for the oil rod at the end, and those are actually more expensive than the oil filter itself. The oil filter will cost you around $10, and this one will cost you, I think, around $18 to $20. So those are designated for the BMW E39, and this is the actual part number here. Canister to throw the old oil in. At least I use. You can use whatever you want. 20 liters I have here, but it's almost full, so I'm gonna evacuate into smaller ones. And always you keep tissues next to you. Here I can show you that whatever that you can use, any canister. Usually you can use also the water that you use for the wipers fluid, which is around 5 liters each. So you will use at least 2. So first thing we're gonna do is to remove this cover, so we can like disengage the vacuum line, which already in the face of the oil cap. Because I'm going to remove the oil cap, so I'm going to disengage the vacuum and to reach it and not break it, because this is very, very fragile. Already I broke it once. So I'm going to remove with the 10 millimeter bolts this cover and remove the vacuum. And always before you change your oil, run your car to normal temperature, so the oil will become like easy to evacuate. Okay. And open the oil filter after you switch off your car on a level ground. Okay, this is done. After you park your car up, you do what I'm doing now. So before you evacuate, because removing the oil filter cap and the old filter will allow the air to let the rest of the oil to drain into the end of the motor down, so you can evacuate all the amount at once. So now I'm going to remove this one. Should be removed. Okay. Now when you remove the vacuum, you have two places. One is next to the here intakes, and here. Be careful, just press it a little bit and wiggle it back so you don't break it, and don't use excessive force. Yeah, you see it's moving. That's it, enough. Don't break it, so it will get away from our place. Now, especially for BMW, this is the, I call it the Royal socket. It's 36mm socket. Okay, it's very big. Okay, and this is assigned for the big wrenches. This is what you use to put already, and for the oil filter. And it's not necessary according to the car. You can like choose what is appropriate for you, because I'm gonna show you here. Like here, you can use this. Like I use it for my friend's car, which is already like usually Octavia, to just ratchet the oil filter out and in. Okay, it's very simple and it's cheap. It's not expensive, and I like it because it doesn't have like so much complicated process. Just put it into the jaws and it will like take it out. But this is what we use for the BMW filters, and each car have its own designated. You can read the manual how to remove the oil filter, and depending on that you can use whatever you want. So now I already have my Newton meter on 25. This is 20 and this is 30. This reflection, yeah, 20, 30, and this is the 5 between them. This is 4, 6, and 5 is on the middle. So I'm gonna switch it to the disengagement, and I just now disengage the oil filter cap. And the torque wrench, you will feel like the use of the torque wrench once you put the oil filter cap, which I'm gonna show you later, where it breaks. It doesn't continue. You don't have to ruin your threads or your car. Just do the designated. And disengaging the oil filter doesn't need actually a torquing wrench, but since I have it already with the socket, I always use it. So now the wrench, the filter is out. It's very smooth. You can now take it out. Now, before you take it out, prepare your dirty rag around the filter so it doesn't, and prepare your plastic bag, okay? And open it good so it doesn't give you any problems. Okay, so now easy, take it out, let it drip, and here immediately. So you can manage your filter later on the ground. Put it aside a little bit. Make sure you don't drip on all over, because we're gonna start even like here, vacuum this oil in this area later. So now my son's taking the video, so I'm gonna start putting the pump. Okay. I always keep it in the bags because it's very dirty. It's gonna be oily. So here is the inlet. I'm gonna take the oil dipstick out. And also leave it kind of place. Okay. We're gonna put the small inlet. Yeah. Put it to the end and leave the dispenser here. I'm gonna use also old canister. I'm going to put this. So I think this is steady. and put the pump in a place that it doesn't play that much. This one here. Okay. And now I'm gonna plug the ends of the pump, one to the positive and one to the negative. This is the negative one, and this is the positive. And switch it on. So as you can see, the oil starts to evacuate from the exit here. And make sure always that this one is at the end. And we're gonna wait around 5 to 6 minutes, 10 minutes until it's finished. And then we'll start evacuating the filter hose here. Okay, now meanwhile I'm evacuating the oil. I'm gonna remove the old filter from the housing and remove the old filter oil ring here. Okay, I'm gonna exchange the rods. I'm gonna show you now. Let me just take the filter out. So here you have two rings. One is here and one is here. Okay, I think I can focus more because this is good. Yeah, one is here and one is here, and the big oil ring is here. And notice it doesn't come up to the end. There's a groove before the end. This is where the new one will come. Okay, so I'm gonna remove it using my screwdriver. I push it beneath it and take it out. So like this, I put the screwdriver beneath it and just slide it out. For the small ones you have to be very careful. Also use the very narrow edge here and careful not to scratch the rod. Easy, just go beneath it and take it out one by one. And it's easier if you take the outer one and then the second one. So now I removed all the oil rings. I remember I cut myself in the first time I removed such doors. Today it was like easier. So if you are like first time you try it, you can really like just take a blade and just cut it and slide it out instead of having, because I have specific screwdriver here which have bended edge. So if you don't have such stuff or you are new, just cut it with a blade and take it out both, because those are very difficult. I remembered my injury now. So now I removed them both. You see this, the groove and those. I'm gonna install the new O-rings and the big O-ring. After I put them in place, and it's just simple procedure, I'm gonna wipe them with oil, so it will like seal good when I put them back. So now slide them without oil because it's very difficult to insert. Okay, so try to make them as dry as possible, and even like try to dry the rod itself so it doesn't give you troubles. And the big one is so easy, just put it in place. Okay, so now I put the new rings, as you see, in place, and this big ring in the groove which we talked about. This is groove, not to the end, not to this edge here. I'm gonna wipe them all with oil. I'm gonna put the new oil filter already. It doesn't matter which side, but I like to put the writings up always. I'm gonna slide it in and push it. Sometimes it can get difficult to get in, but you have to push it anyway. So now it's pushed in place. Yeah. I'm gonna put the oil now on the oil rings, just on the tip of your finger, or even from the oil here. I'm gonna use the old oil from the oil filter. Just put it around, just to lubricate and make it seal better. Like this. Now it's all. So no need, like it tells you new oil, no, not necessary. So now it's all, you can see shining because I put the oil on it. So now my filter is ready to be installed after I finish evacuation. So here I finish pumping out the oil. I have almost 6¼ liter pumped out, and now I'm gonna finish what's in the oil housing here to make sure that all the old oil is done. And I always recommend, of course, you can see that it's all drained. Drain it all good, because this is deep. Always run your car to normal temperature before you evacuate, because it will make it so fast to evacuate the oil efficiently. And another thing, measure the oil extracted. Always, like I use the measurements to know how much oil I extracted, because sometimes this is not draining from beneath the car. If you drain beneath the car, you know, you make sure that everything is out. But since you don't see what is like left inside, better to make sure to not to overfill. In numbers, I will say. Let's say the oil inside the engine is 6.5 liter, and I extracted just 6. If I put another 6.5, and with the filter, which means I have ½ kilo extra, ½ liter extra of oil, and more oil is more dangerous than less oil. So always measure to make sure that your engine is filled up with the accurate amount. For instance, for this case, I will fill up now 6¼ not 6.5, and then I will measure the oil after I run to the normal temperature and I switch off the car and let it stay for 5 minutes. I'll measure the oil. If it's minus, I will add. If it's accurate, then it's accurate. So I think now everything's done. And this is how I measure. I have old canister, which is 5. I already extracted 5, and now this is 1 and almost like 300 ml. So better to control how much you have. So now we finished evacuating, calculating every liter. I evacuated 6.5 liters, which means all the oil was out, unless I added more before. So I'm gonna put the filter in its place. As we said, like we put the oil around the rings, we have the new rings. Put it gently, and first you have sometimes to press it a little bit, especially that you have new rings, and threading in. From distance you can make it. Okay, once I feel the resistance, it's now time to use our torque wrench as we use it, but now for the tension, and you will see the torque how it breaks by itself when it reaches the designated torque, which is 25 Newton per meter. You see, it breaks. It doesn't again, so which means it's perfect. Now we put the vacuum line again back in place. Just click, be very careful, and we put our cover over it. So it will fit usually in place. Also make sure to and always don't over tight the screws of the covers, just cosmetic covers, so you don't need to tighten it that much, enough just to make sure that it's holding the cover good. So now we fill up the oil. The oil, you can put whatever oil you find, because it's according to the atmospheric temperature and the climate in your area. So now it's just a matter of filling up the oil. I'll fill up 6.25 liter, and I will leave the 1/4 liter for calibration after I test the oil after running the engine in the normal temperature. So I'm gonna put now 6.25 liter, and it's supposed to be 6.5, but because I don't know how much the oil was inside the engine, I will not calibrate, and this is the best way. As I said before, less oil is less dangerous than more oil. More oil will make extreme pressure inside the engine, so it's gonna demolish so many stuff. Always write your tachometer now, the date, you change filter or not. I always recommend changing the filter each time. Sometimes you don't have to change the oil, your oil is okay. Just change the oil, the filter, and this will be the way of evacuating by using the suction vacuum or the manual evacuating instruments, depending what you have in your market. So I wish you that enjoyed this video. If you like it, please like, and any questions, I'm ready to answer it, and I wish you a very nice and good day. Bye bye.